My cheating wife was completely exposed and destroyed in court after attempting to falsely accuse me. I, 34, met her online a decade ago during a 52-book and 52-week challenge. She, 36, posted that she was undergoing radiation therapy for cancer. I put together a care package and sent it to her. At the time, I had no romantic interest in her and didn't even know what she looked like. She texted me a few days later, saying she cried when she saw the package on her doorstep. No one has ever done anything so thoughtful for me before. We continued to exchange messages and became friends because of our shared interest in books. Eventually, the friendship blossomed into a long-distance relationship. I traveled to Texas to see her. She flew to Pennsylvania to see me, back and forth again and again. In 2015, she moved permanently to Pennsylvania. I put down a down payment on a house. She was broke, and I proposed to her 11 months later. We were married the following year. She had a long list of psychiatric issues, severe anxiety, severe depression, PTSD from her illness, etc., of which I was aware, but I didn't understand their severity until we started living together. However, by that point, I was already committed to her. Like penguins, she committed me for life, through the good times, the bad times, and everything in between. For the next 7 years, I was there for every low point in her life. By the time our marriage was ending, she was at her peak. All her psychiatric issues were under control, her career was flourishing, working from home full-time, and she was making more money than she'd ever made. Later, she wrote in court documents that I forced her to take that job so I could control her. Very clever of her. She was cheating on me with someone who lived in New York. She used the need to visit the company's New York office as an excuse to see him for at least 2 years. She started seeing him before the pandemic started, according to what I gathered from her, because she didn't want to talk about it. She was probably cheating on me the entire time we lived together, since she's been making these trips to the New York office since 2015. In 7 years of living together, we had a fight on our honeymoon in Key West, Florida. She got really angry with me when I called to ask about my parents. We reconciled, and she learned to accept that my parents are extremely important to me, and I continue to call them daily. She didn't seem to mind. Aside from the stress of children, we didn't have any, and money, we both had good careers. There wasn't much to argue about. What seemed like a good marriage was, in reality, a parasite-host relationship. As I learned more about her toward the end of our marriage, I realized she wasn't a woman. She was a parasite who used me to stabilize her life. Once I stopped serving her purpose, she discarded me like garbage. In January 2020, we flew to Oklahoma and put a down payment on a piece of land so she could be closer to her family. Construction on the house began in the following months, and we moved permanently to Oklahoma in August 2020. I left my family and friends behind in Pennsylvania, where I lived for 20 years, just so she would be happier. She was cheating on me while the house was being built. After D-Day, I asked her over and over, "Why didn't you divorce me if you didn't want to be married? Would you have let me stay in Pennsylvania with my family and friends?" Her only response was, "I'm a coward. Naturally, you might wonder why I didn't suspect anything for years." She bombed me with love every day. She kissed me and told me how much she loved me, how much she appreciated everything I did for our family. We had 2 cats, no children. In the birthday card before D-Day, she wrote, "I'm looking forward to growing old together." Just a ton of smoke and mirrors to distract me. D-Day was December 12, 2021. She made a mistake and gave me reason to start suspecting. She was an alcoholic. She binge drinking when I went out to work at night, but she was 1.5 years sober at this point. She said she wanted to fly to Chicago for an Alcoholics Anonymous conference. Sure, no problem. She bought a gift for her sponsor, who claimed to be one of the most important people in her life, but she left it at home. I thought it was really weird, but not enough to snoop. Later that weekend, she texted me, "I'm so high and I'm going over the steps again." She never talked like that. I interpreted it as her getting drunk, which didn't make sense. You're with your sponsor and other members and you got drunk. I Googled to see if there was a conference on Chicago that weekend. There wasn't one. For the first time in our marriage, I went through her iPad. I found photos of her having sex with another guy and screenshots of explicit messages he sent her. Someday I'll publish the full story. I'll say I made every mistake imaginable. I shed more tears than she did. I considered reconciliation. I did the pick-me dance. I took her on dates. I had sex with her, but the attraction faded very quickly as I got to know her ugly personality. Soon, I couldn't look at her hideous face any longer and ended all physical contact. But to keep this from dragging on too long, I filed for divorce. And it was finalized less than 2 months to the day of. She refused to tell people the real reason we were getting divorced. She wanted to gloss over the infidelity. Eventually, she relented and said she would tell her parents on February 1st, 2022, as she unpacked her last belongings. I asked if I could say goodbye to her mom, who was waiting outside. Her parents treated me like a son, as did the rest of her extended family. I told her mom, "I'm sorry it didn't work out between your daughter and me," to which her mom replied, "That's fine." They were both equally responsible for this. Equally responsible? A pathological liar. Screenshots of her lies. She must have lied to her parents and slandered my name in their eyes. Hearing her mom say that made me angry. At that moment, I decided to wait until all the legal documents were signed to expose her. The parasite ended up paying a fortune financially. She wanted an uncontested divorce in our no-fault state. I guess she didn't want to stand in front of the judge and talk about her deception. I kept the house fully furnished. With 70% equity, the newer car paid off, and the money I was setting aside from each paycheck for my parents' retirement with their approval. The moment she complained about dividing the house equity, I told her I wouldn't negotiate. That I would hire a lawyer, that we were going to court to challenge this. She didn't. I refinanced the house to a fixed rate of 2.75%. What a bargain. In the meantime, she went back to renting and signed a 1-year contract. The following month, the Federal Reserve began raising interest rates to combat inflation. Mortgage rates have at least doubled since then. Because of that, you'll end up paying tens of thousands of dollars more for waiting an additional year to buy a house. On March 7th, 2022, I sent a 9-page email describing his deception and explicit details to his entire immediate and extended family. A total of 14 people. I excluded Sweet Granny from reading that obscenity. They are all devout Christians whose lives revolve around church. I then contacted the manager at his work about his deception. I contacted the CEO of his company and did the same. 5 days later, there was a knock at my door. When I opened it, there was a seraph standing there with papers in his hands. I was served a restraining order for harassment and stalking. To strengthen his case, he lied and wrote that he also abused her. He asked the judge to order me to enroll in a domestic abuse program. It's worth noting that I never raised my voice or raised my hand to this woman, even after what she did to me. She's someone who makes impulsive decisions without considering the long-term consequences. She lied and wrote that I never let her leave the house alone, that I made her work from home to control her, that I controlled what kind of makeup and hairstyle she could wear, that I mistreated our cats. I made a post on this subreddit saying that cheaters, not women, are punished for infidelity with fines and even jail time in other countries. She replaced cheaters with women and fines with murdered women to make me look violent. You should have seen the look of stupidity on her face. When I took that evidence to court and my lawyer had it read aloud, she still ended up standing in front of a judge in a packed courtroom and was exposed as a cheater, something she desperately tried to avoid previously. After multiple delays, I finally had the restraining order hearing 6 months later. She looked like a complete mess when she walked in. Those 6 months were not kind to her. She looked like she had gained more weight. She was already overweight before. Her belly fat was still visible, even though she tried her best to hide it. She tried to cover her acne scars with makeup, but it looked so bad, like a kabuki mask. Apparently, my email caused a lot of problems within the family. Of course, she never took any responsibility and blamed me in court for sending it. The entire hearing lasted less than 10 minutes. She didn't present any evidence. I had extensive evidence to refute each of her claims, but I only needed to present one: months and months of bank statements. Credit cards showing her going to stores, restaurants, cafes, etc. while I was at work. Photos of us together, with her wearing different hairstyles and makeup. At one point, the judge turned to her and asked, "Do you have any evidence to prove what you're claiming? Any witnesses who can corroborate what you're saying?" She replied no, and her case was dismissed for lack of evidence. The only reason I haven't filed charges against her for false allegations of abuse is because I don't want to get caught in another 6-month legal battle with this parasite. In court, she tried to portray me as if I were obsessed with her. I've long since moved on with my life and am infinitely happier than I've ever been. While I was with her, I realize now that I was never happy. I was just content. Ironically, cancer brought us together, and I didn't find happiness until I cut the cancer out of my life. If she ever tries to contact me in the future, I will go directly to the police and press charges for false accusations of abuse. On the first anniversary of D-Day, or Liberation Day as my friend calls it, I went out to celebrate. I celebrated because I averted a catastrophe for 11 days. A couple of weeks before D-Day, she and I were driving in the car. She turned to me and said, "I feel like you only use me for sex, cooking, and washing." Words can't describe how horrible I felt as a husband. I felt like I was the worst husband in the world. I couldn't believe I made her feel this way. I pulled up my mask and tears started streaming down my cheeks. This is the first time I cried in front of her. When we got home, she clarified that she felt this way because we didn't share deep conversations. We talked about our daily lives, but we didn't have deep conversations. In hindsight, this parasite was projecting. In reality, she was using me the whole time. We had marriage counseling scheduled for December 23rd, 11 days before I discovered her cheating. I must have had a guardian angel watching over me otherwise. I'd be in therapy now, trying to find ways to make her happy while she cheated on me behind my back. Update. This is an alternate account for privacy and anonymity. My main account was subpoenaed a year ago. Discovered the woman I'd been with for almost a decade was cheating on me. I posted on this subreddit 2 days after Seeking Support Day. Because my support system was 1,000 miles away, I was also so afraid to tell my parents. A year earlier, on Thanksgiving Day, my dad wrote that he was more grateful that one of his sons was established in life. He had a good career and a family of his own. Once my brother had a family of his own, my mom and dad would be successful as parents. Honestly, I thought my news would devastate them so much that they would both end up in the hospital. Like many others in my original post, I blamed myself for their cheating. Why hadn't I been a better husband so he wouldn't feel the need to seek care elsewhere? Thankfully, this group stepped in and collectively advised me to file for divorce. I follow this subreddit closely to give back for the support they gave me during difficult times. Although now, I will offer an update on my story. This one has a happy ending. Perhaps it will motivate you to embark on your own self-improvement journey or give you the impetus to leave your cheating partner. Or at least it'll make you smile to read about a cheater being exposed. Here's a recap of the last decade with her. After discovering her infidelity, I was crushed with no self-esteem, no self-worth. I decided to embark on a self-improvement journey to regain my self-worth and self-esteem. What helped me regain my self-esteem was setting goals and then going out to achieve those goals. My weight loss journey started a couple of weeks before D-Day. Her cheating took it to another level. I joined a gym a couple of days after D-Day. Over the next 11 months, I lost close to 60 pounds. Here's one of the photos. A little over a month after D-Day, I impulsively signed up to run a marathon. I was still overweight at the time and hadn't run a mile since high school. But I had 87 days to prepare, and I was determined to finish the marathon at any cost. I finished the marathon in a little over 5 hours. You can read more about my couch to marathon story here. After finishing the race, my self-esteem skyrocketed. If I can do this, I can do anything I set my mind to. I'm currently looking for an endurance coach to train for a triathlon. A couple of months after the marathon, a friend challenged me to do amateur bodybuilding. It was completely out of my comfort zone. Standing half naked in front of a large crowd alongside competitors who were far more experienced than me. But I accepted the challenge. With only 16 weeks to prepare, I needed professional help. So I hired a personal trainer. Here's a snapshot of my physical transformation from D-Day, culminating in me stepping onto a bodybuilding stage and winning a medal. At this point, I look good and feel good. My self-esteem is sky high and I'm gaining confidence. I'm currently training for another show in June and another in October 2023. 10 years ago, as a registered nurse working with adults, the opportunity arose to work with children. This is way out of my comfort zone. The health issues, common medications, and communication in general are completely different between adults and children. But I jumped at the chance and love it. Today, I work at a children's psychiatric hospital where we provide crisis intervention for homicidal, suicidal, and self-injuring children ages 5 to 17. Since the divorce, I will double my income in the first fiscal year. My goal for 2023 is to reach $200,000. I'm in the last semester of my master's degree and should finish in the next few months. I took a 7-day road trip, covering 10 states and traveling 5,000 miles to Montana with my best friend. When I was married, I always wanted to visit Montana, but never got around to it. We had a blast. The highlight was going on a fishing charter, each of us catching a 70-plus centimeter lake trout, which we then cooked at our cabin by the lake. My goal for 2023 is to cross several more states off my list of visiting every state in the U.S. I'll be visiting Alaska, the Pacific Northwest, and the southeastern states this year. I've invested more time and money in my health and well-being than I have in the past 10 years of marriage. I attended 3 individual therapy sessions. The 4th lasted 15 minutes. I had nothing to discuss about the past and wanted to focus on the future. As Wayne Gretzky said, I skate to where the puck is going to be, not where it's been. The therapist said she didn't feel I needed any more sessions because I was doing so well. It's been a complete recovery. At that point, I have no triggers. I used to have recurring nightmares where both of them laughed at me, the unsuspecting husband, Those nightmares stopped when she lied on the restraining order, accusing me of abuse. At that moment, I realized this person doesn't care one bit about me. So why should I care about her? The trader's birthday is 9 days before mine, and this year I've completely forgotten about it. On the day of, or as my friend calls it, release day, I went out to celebrate. As for my romantic endeavors, I waited until the restraining order case was dismissed before pursuing women. I failed on my first attempt. I asked a coworker who was over 40 out on a date and received a response of, "I'll think about it and let you know." In my mind, if I wasn't a scientist, then I was one. A friend suggested the dating app Genie. I had great success there, with many matches. I went on a date with a 38-year-old woman, and long story short, the last time I courted a woman was a decade ago, where we sent love letters in the mail. With this woman, we connected very well while texting, and then a couple of hours before the date, tensions arose. I told her I would take care of the date and didn't want me taking money out of her purse for anything. I also told her I would open the door for her anywhere we went. Well, she didn't appreciate it. You should have put that on your dating profile. It's 2022, and most women don't need a man to pay for them or open doors for them. Before this, I asked her what her boundaries were regarding hand-holding. Hugging and kissing on the first date. She said she needed to feel comfortable just holding hands on the first date. Okay, it'll be a friend-type date, like hanging out with my sister. As expected, tensions mounted a couple of hours before we were due to meet. I asked her if she wanted to cancel. No hard feelings if she did, to which she replied, "No, I'm intrigued by you." She could have canceled, but honestly, I wanted to see how disastrous the date would be. I imagined dinner would be like the dinner scene from Mr. and Mrs. Smith, followed by the scene where they try to kill each other. We met up and actually had a great time. We had drinks, then a private Latin dance lesson, and during dinner there were no tense moments or awkwardness. During dinner, I told her that although I had a great time and found her attractive, I don't see this going any further than the first date. Although we connected well that night, our worlds could collide in the future due to our personalities. I walked her to her car and she was constantly praising me. She gave me a long, lingering hug and we parted ways. When I got home, she texted me, "It seemed like you wanted to kiss me all night." I replied that I did, but that I respected her boundaries. She followed up with, "Maybe I should have kissed you then." I told her to come over the next day so I could cook dinner, and she agreed. 24 hours later, we were having fun in my bed.
She said she wants to hang out casually, which is perfect for me.
It gives me time to focus on my other goals. I ended up breaking up with her a couple of days later because she disrespected me. After the disrespect from the person I was married to at the end of our marriage, I swore to never allow another woman to disrespect me. If I had started dating immediately after the divorce, I probably would have endured a lot because my self-esteem was shattered at the time. Then I met my current girlfriend. I matched with a beautiful 33-year-old Latina who was not only open to chivalry but also welcomed it. In our conversation, she said, "It would be an honor to go out with you." No woman had ever said that to me before. From day one, she's done nothing but build me up instead of criticizing me like that person used to. When we ran into each other, she went straight for a hug. She took my hand while we were still in the parking lot and waited for me to open the door. During the night at the bar, she touched my arm and shoulder while laughing. We went dancing, and although she had much more experience as a dancer than me, I have no dance experience, and I have 2 left feet. It felt natural and sexy to dance with her. I didn't feel like a robot on the dance floor, the same way I had on the first date with the other woman. Our hands were everywhere, and she was kissing my neck as we danced all over the dance floor. At one point, the dance instructor left the room to let us do our thing. After dinner, I took her to my employee party because she loves to dance. I gave the DJ $20 and requested her song. We danced while everyone else watched. She had a radiant smile from ear to ear, and she rubbed against me all night like a cat in heat. At the end of the night, she broke her own no kissing on a first date rule. She came over to my house 3 days later, and we've been seeing each other every day since. We deleted our dating apps after the second date and have been in a committed monogamous relationship ever since. We were born half a world away from each other, but our cultures are very similar. I didn't expect to find someone like her so soon. I thought I'd date many women before settling down. I knew she was the one I wanted to pursue when a very pretty redhead from Ginny finally matched with me, and I had no desire to open her message to read it. What a year has it been? It started in the worst possible way and is ending in the highest possible way. And the most exciting thing is that I feel like I've barely scratched the surface. To top off the success, I commissioned an artist to do this painting titled Rebirth of a Man for me. I told him in January 2022 about my situation, the beginning of my journey to self-improvement, and where I see myself in the future. This was his interpretation. I had no expectations, and yet he managed to exceed them. He handed me the painting shortly after competing in the bodybuilding show, which he has appropriated. I hope my story helps you. It's terrifying to leave an unfaithful partner. I've been there too. At one point, I considered reconciliation before ultimately making the decision to divorce. But know that there is an exciting world beyond the walls of your current relationship. You will meet someone who will show you what a healthy relationship looks like. It wasn't until I met my current girlfriend that I realized I was never happy with the person I was married to. I was content while I was with her, but never happy.